Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce.
The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
Hi, I'm Bob from Crane Appliance. Since 1983, as a family-owned company, our goal has been simple: to give our neighbors of the Cape and Islands a great shopping experience. Rest easy knowing our professional team will listen to your needs and help you pick out the perfect appliances. We'll take care of everything throughout the sale, delivery, and installation process. And we even have our own in-house service department. Crane Appliance, we call the Cape and Islands home.
Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server co-location, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their number one goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.
And the reason for the executive session is to discuss the MOU with Eversource and the town's financial position regarding that discussion. And when we finish with our executive session discussion, we'll come back to open session and we will continue with the discussion of the town meeting article relative to the same subject.
I'll second your motion.
So on a roll call vote, please. And
Taylor, aye. English Braga, aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Addison, aye.
And Brown, aye. Okay, very good. So we're going to switch to the other Zoom link on the executive session and we'll be back shortly. I want to announce that we just returned from executive session to discuss the memorandum of understanding with Eversource, and the board did vote to authorize the town manager to enter into that agreement with Eversource because it did meet all the parameters that we had discussed. And now I'll call the open meeting to session. And I just want to advise anybody who wants to make any comments during this meeting, of course, is welcome to, you can join the meeting. You must already be in it. I'm going to announce it, but I'll tell you anyway. You can go to the select board agenda and find the Zoom link and jump in. And if you want to make comments by chat, and if you want to speak, you can announce that in the chat and we'll promote you to panelist. And we're going to continue now with discussion of the article for town meeting regarding the Eversource cable to the vineyard. And I'll welcome comments from the select board or staff. If anybody wants to start off, Mr. Johnson, did you want to introduce it?
If you like, I'd be happy to give a quick overview for the public.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So we are addressing Article 22 of the upcoming town meeting warrant, which authorizes easements to Eversource, which will allow them to construct an undersea cable that comes onto Surf Drive and goes up a route from Mill Road to the bike path across Jones Road, ultimately to an existing Eversource substation on Stevens Lane. And the town has spent some time working with Eversource on an agreement to ensure that we have good mechanisms in place in a written agreement that allow for the town to ensure that issues such as traffic management and season of construction and time of day of construction and noise can be appropriately addressed. And given that this is an underground cable that will be going up Mill Road and underneath the bikeway, there's significant impact to the community, which we recognize, and it's going to be more than an inconvenience for some folks. And the Eversource has recognized that, and in addition to mitigating the impacts to the greatest extent possible, is also providing so $800,000 to the town for projects related to the impact area. And in addition to those funds for the town to undertake certain improvements, the Eversource has also agreed to relocate utility poles that are currently within the sidewalk on Palmer Ave that runs roughly parallel to the section of the bikeway that is going to be torn up in order to install this underground cable. So there are some nice long-term benefits that the town will receive in exchange for the disruption that this project will require.
Thank you for that, Mr. Johnson-Staub. And questions or comments from the board on the draft Article 22 language? Does anybody have any comments that they'd like to make for any changes or concerns?
I just wanted to thank the staff for really pushing. The board, I think, was really clear that we wanted to have this really hammered out in advance of town meeting so that town meeting members have the information in front of them and they're not getting it the night of town meeting. This is a significant project taking place in the town. And I know when you're dealing with a company like Eversource, it's not easy to herd everyone together to get these things done. But I really think it's critical that and I know this board sent that message that was really critical to have this in advance. So thanks to town manager, assistant town manager, and the other folks involved in getting this worked out. I think it's a really thorough and comprehensive MOU.
Yeah, Peter McConaughey in particular. So,
right.
Yes, indeed.
And so just to highlight what's in Article 22 is I think town meeting members have seen it, and I think the draft is still intact. Has that been published anywhere? Has this draft been put out, Mr. Suso?
So the article itself has been published, right? Because the warrant closed, so that language hasn't changed at all. The draft explanation that the board has seen has not been shared with the public at this point, but it will be going to the printer tomorrow morning.
And that's just pretty much what you just explained. So thank you. Mm-hmm. And one final clarification is they're giving us numerical monetary compensation for all the disruption in the areas that they're working, but they're also taking responsibility at their own expense to move those poles on Palmer Ave. And they're also going to be doing their own work along the bike path where they dig the trench. They'll fill it back in and pave it at their own expense as well, separate from the financial consideration that they're providing.
Yeah, to some extent, what they're doing on Palmer Avenue, moving the poles around, is really to allow bicyclists to use that as an alternative to the bike path while it's under construction. So it is related to the project.
Or even more importantly, pedestrians to be on the sidewalk, and the bikes will be on the side of the road, but at least they'll have a place to get by on a sidewalk.
True.
Okay.
I move that we recommend Article 22 as printed.
With the recommendation as printed as well.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? By roll
Aye.
call?
Oh, sorry.
Taylor, aye.
Patterson, aye. Wait.
English Braga, aye.
Price, aye.
And Brown, aye. Thanks
Were
again.
there any public comments at all or questions?
I don't, let's take a look.
I don't see anything in the chat.
No, I don't either.
You may need to remind folks to indicate in the chat if they wish to be elevated to speak.
I don't see very many attendees. It's mostly all in-house.
I think there's one attendee, Tim Shea.
Yes.
Mr. Shea, did you have any comments for us or any questions?
I move we adjourn the open session.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Oh. Julian, did you have a comment?
Oh, yeah, pardon my interruption. I just wanted to echo the comments made to thank Peter Johnson-Staub, Peter McConerty for the really steadfast work to get us to the finish line at this point. It was a daunting task to work with Eversource. And I want to thank all of those individuals at Eversource for their willingness to work so closely with us to get to this point and move forward in the direction that the select board ordained. So we're very pleased to be there. And I want to thank all involved. Thank you.
I agree with you thanking Eversource. They did deal in good faith and they were very time sensitive and effective. So it was good. Nice to work with them this time. Okay.
I think we just needed the vote, Mr. Chair. I think we just go.
I think we want to just give one more minute. Mr. Shea did have his hand raised. I see.
Okay. Does it make sense to just bring him over in case he's not comfortable with the chat? Can
we do that, please, Mr. Shanahan?
Have the elevator. Oh, here he comes.
Welcome, Mr. Shea. Are you there?
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Now.
Yeah, my only two questions, and I talked to Peter McCarthy earlier this afternoon. I thought he was going to participate as well, but I don't see him on the list. The two things that the Bikeway Committee had discussed at some length with Eversource, one you've already covered to some extent, and that's the Palmer Avenue detour involving the pole relocations and bikeway detours, probably on the pavement or in some combination with the sidewalk. But oh, there's Peter. He can cover that. I'm in his sandbox. He can cover that. The other item I was hoping there'd be some continuity through with understanding with Eversource was the matter of electromagnetic force or EMF on the bikeway, which personally I don't think is an issue of much significance, but I'm not an expert. And questions may arise, particularly with the Mayflower Wind Project surfacing in Falmouth Heights, although at a much higher voltage. But I do think it's appropriate that we have a specific study or statement from Eversource that the cable at the voltages they're proposing under the bikeway pose no harm to bikeway users, including commuters and children and infants, that they include that in the preliminary package on the project. And then when they're completed and doing their testing and energizing, they go out and perform some measurements that confirm the initial study that we requested. I hope that subject doesn't get lost in the process, because we've discussed it with them, and they my understanding is that they are proceeding with that, but I just wanted to confirm it.
Okay, thank you for that comment. It's a good one. And actually, that's not specifically covered, although I did ask that at one of our meetings, and the engineering person that was on hand did say that this, I think it's 725 kilovolts, which is nowhere near the Mayflower Wind's projected voltage or wattage. And he said that this is the same common power that's typically run and poses no threat. But let Mr. McConerty or either of the managers speak to that, if they would.
Yeah, Peter can comment on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I did have a dialogue with Eversource about that specific question, and they have confirmed that it's a 23 kilovolt line that is going to be installed. And they pointed out that that is the same voltage that many, if not most, of the distribution lines. So these are the wires that are on all of the neighborhood streets, down Main Street, et cetera. Those are generally 23 kilovolt lines. Even some of the lines going to the houses are 23 kilovolts. So this is not to be confused with a transmission line. You know, folks know the high tension lines, so-called. Those can carry 325, I believe it's 325 or 345 kilovolt, as opposed to 23. So, you know, I guess the question is, if we have a problem with an underground electric cable that's the same as those running throughout the entire town, you know, then I guess we have a pretty big problem. But it seems to me this is not creating a new EMF health hazard, based on the information that Eversource has provided to us.
Would be nice if we could ask them to just maybe attend the town meeting and speak to that, or maybe put something in writing just to explain that.
I'm sure they plan to be there. So maybe we can pass on to them that will be a question.
Okay.
Or something in writing from their expert. I agree with Peter. It's probably not an issue, but we do have some particular aspects. That a biker or a child walking along the bike path is much closer than one would be to the aerial cables at that voltage. And then a commuter, if my back of the envelope math is correct, somebody commuting every day to Woods Hole is along that segment for, I think it's 30 or 40 hours a year. So there's some other factors at play other than voltage. And just to have an expert that understands the whole spectrum of the issue, have an expert from Eversource make a statement, I think that would be useful to have in our dossier, but particularly when the Mayflower windstorm erupts in East Falmouth.
All right.
We will pursue that with Eversource, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion and a second, and we've incorporated Mr. Shea's comments into the town meeting portion of it. And I'm ready to take a vote on this if there's no further comments or questions.
Motion on adjournment?
No, we have to vote it first and then adjourn. We never took the vote on it. So I made the motion, I think Sam second. So, or somebody made the motion, but English Braga, aye.
Okay, thank you.
Patterson, aye.
Scott Price, aye. Nancy, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Taylor, aye.
And Brown, aye. So that settles Article 22. And if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All
Patterson, aye.
Taylor, I.
English Braga, aye.
Scott Price, aye.
And Brown, aye. Thank you all for taking the
Thank
time
you.
out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.